I never thought the woman I'd give my last dollar to would one day pretend I didn't exist while standing right in front of me. Let me ask you something before we begin. Have you ever loved someone so completely that you erase yourself piece by piece just to see them smile? Have you ever given everything, your money, your time, your dignity, only to be told you gave nothing at all? Because that's exactly what happened to me. And the moment she finally said the words that shattered everything, I did something that shocked even myself. But I'm getting ahead of the story. Stay with me, because what happened in that tiny Houston apartment over 3 devastating days will make you question everything you thought you knew about love and sacrifice. Here's what you need to understand first. My name is Francis. I'm 28, born and raised in the humidity and heart of Texas, where we're taught that a man provides, a man protects, a man loves without conditions. That's the code I live by. And Angie, beautiful, 23-year-old Angie from the UK with her accent that could melt steel and her smile that could resurrect the dead. She was my everything. For 2 years, we'd built something I thought was real in our cramped one-bedroom in downtown Houston. The apartment wasn't much. 4th floor walk-up, no elevator. Neighbors so close you could hear their arguments and their reconciliations through walls thin as paper. But it was ours. Or so I believed. The first crack appeared on a Wednesday evening in late August when the Texas heat turned our apartment into an oven, and Angie came home from her retail job looking like she'd been wrung out and left to dry. I'd just gotten back myself from my warehouse gig. 10 hours of loading trucks, my shoulders screaming, my back a symphony of pain. My paycheck was nothing to write home about, just enough to cover rent, utilities, and groceries with maybe $50, $60 left over if we were lucky. That week, I had exactly $53 in my checking account until Friday's deposit. Angie collapsed on our second-hand couch, the one we found on Facebook Marketplace, with a suspicious stain we covered with a throw blanket. Her face was flushed, her forehead damp. "Baby, you okay?" I crouched beside her, pressing the back of my hand to her cheek. She was burning up. "I feel like death," she whispered, her accent thicker when she was tired or sick. "Everything hurts, Francis. My head, my stomach, everything." My heart clenched. "What do you need? Tell me what'll make you feel better." She looked at me with those green eyes, the same eyes I'd fallen into 2 years ago at that coffee shop on Main Street, and said, "Maybe some soup and medicine? I don't know, I just feel awful." I checked my phone. 7:47 p.m. The grocery store closed at 10. I had $53 and a girlfriend who needed me. "I got you, baby. Just rest." I practically ran to that grocery store 6 blocks away, my own exhaustion forgotten. I grabbed chicken, vegetables, noodles, everything for her favorite soup, then the medicine aisle, fever reducers, stomach medicine, throat lozenges. The cashier rang it up, $48.62. I had $4.38 left, enough for the bus tomorrow. Barely. But when I looked at those bags, filled with things to make her feel better, I felt rich. Back home, I found Angie curled up in bed, shivering despite the heat. I got to work in our tiny kitchen, chopping vegetables, boiling broth, making everything from scratch because I wanted it to be perfect. It wasn't just soup. It was love in a bowl. It was every bit of care I could pour into chicken and noodles and broth. An hour later, I brought 2 bowls to the bedroom, set hers on the nightstand. "Baby, I made your favorite. Come eat." She sat up slowly, looked at her bowl, then looked at mine. Her face changed. "Why is your bowl bigger than mine?" I blinked. "What?" "Your portion. It's bigger." Her voice had an edge I didn't recognize. I looked at the bowls. Maybe mine had a bit more. I'd been loading trucks all day. I was starving. But we were talking about maybe a quarter cup difference. "Angie, I made plenty. If you want more, take mine. Here. Don't worry about it." She picked up her bowl, took 3 bites in silence, sharp, angry bites, then set it down. "I'm not hungry anymore." Before I could respond, she slid back under the covers and turned her back to me. I sat there holding my bowl, confused, that soup suddenly tasting like cardboard. "Baby, what's wrong?" "Nothing. I'm tired." The air in that room felt thick, suffocating. But I told myself she was sick. She was irritable. Tomorrow would be different. I ate mechanically, cleaned up the kitchen, and checked on her one more time. She was facing the wall, breathing steady. I whispered, "I love you," to her back. She didn't respond. The next morning, I woke up early, made fresh soup, left on the stove with a note. "Heat this up and eat before you take your medicine. I love you. F. At work." Surrounded by stacks of boxes and the constant beep of forklifts, I kept checking my phone. I texted her at 10. "How you feeling, baby? Did you eat?" "Nothing." At noon, "Just checking in. Hope you're resting." "Nothing." At 3, "Angie, you okay?" Still nothing. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she was sleeping. But this tiny worm of anxiety was burrowing into my chest because Angie always texted back. Always. I rushed home the second my shift ended, practically sprinting those 6 blocks in the evening heat, taking the stairs 2 at a time. The apartment was dark, except for the bedroom lamp. And there was Angie, curled on the bed, clutching her stomach, tears streaming down her face. "Baby." I dropped to my knees beside her. "What's wrong? Talk to me." "It hurts," she sobbed. "My stomach. I can't. It hurts so bad, Francis." "What do you need? Tell me what to get." She managed to gasp out a request for specific medicine, a brand name I'd never heard of. I grabbed my phone, found the nearest pharmacy that had it, 20 minutes away, and ran. I spent my last $4 in change on the bus there and back. The medicine was $18. I used my credit card, the one I'd been trying so hard not to touch because the interest was killing me. But what choice did I have? I got back home at midnight, gave her the medicine, held her until she finally fell asleep around 1 a.m. I collapsed beside her, my alarm set for 6. When I left for work the next morning, she was sleeping peacefully, her face relaxed for the first time in days. I kissed her forehead, whispered another "I love you," and headed out into another day of physical labor on 3 hours of sleep. Around 11, my phone rang. Not Angie, her Aunt Margaret, calling from London. I answered. "Hello. Francis. How's our girl? I've been worried sick about her." "She's been pretty sick, ma'am, but she's getting better. I'm at work right now, but she was sleeping when I left this morning." "Oh, let me call her then. Thank you for taking care of her, love." The call ended. I went back to work, assuming Angie would tell her aunt the same thing, that she'd been sick, that she was improving. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Margaret's friend, Sarah. She told me to tell you Angie said she's single and has been taking care of herself. Thought you should know what she's saying. X." My hands went numb. I must have read that text 50 times during my lunch break, each time hoping the words would change. They didn't. The rest of my shift passed in a fog. I barely remember loading those trucks, following instructions, clocking out. All I could think was, why would she say that? Why would she lie? I got home at 7:30. Angie was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, looking perfectly fine. She glanced up when I came in. Hey, hey. I set down my keys, my hands shaking slightly. Can we talk? She sighed like I'd asked her to move a mountain. About what? About what you told your aunt today. Her eyes flickered, just for a second, but she recovered quickly. I don't know what you mean. Angie. I kept my voice steady. Her friend texted me. You told your aunt you're single, that you've been taking care of yourself. I was right here. I spent my last $50 on you 2 nights ago. I held you until 1 in the morning. What the hell? She sat up straighter, her face hardening. Maybe I didn't want to tell her about you. Maybe I wanted to handle it myself. Did you think about that? Handle what yourself? You could barely move. I stopped, took a breath. Why would you say you're single? Oh my God, Francis, you're being so dramatic. I just didn't want her to worry. She doesn't even know you that well. We've been together for 2 years. Whatever. I don't want to do this right now. She turned back to her phone, effectively ending the conversation. I stood there, feeling like the ground was shifting beneath my feet, like I was in a play where everyone knew their lines except me. I went to bed angry that night. She came to bed an hour later like nothing had happened, her back to me in the darkness. The next evening, Friday, I came home determined to finally have that conversation, to understand what was happening to us. I'd gotten paid, deposited my check, felt slightly less desperate about money. Maybe we could talk like adults. But when I walked in, I was on the phone with David Chun, a potential client who would throw some freelance IT work my way, side money I desperately needed. David was explaining the project scope, and I was taking mental notes, nodding along. Angie stormed into the bedroom where I was standing. Get off the phone. I need to call my uncle. I held up a finger. 1 minute. Sorry, David. Can you repeat that last part about the timeline? Francis. Angie's voice could have cracked glass. I said I need to make a call. Baby, I'm on a business call. Just give me 5. No. Get out. Get out of this room right now. David went silent on the other end. I could hear him breathing, waiting. David, I'm so sorry. Can I call you back in 10 minutes? Sure. Yeah. He sounded confused, maybe embarrassed for me. The call ended. I turned to Angie, frustration bubbling over. What is wrong with you? That was a potential client. That was... I don't care about your stupid little phone calls. She was shouting now, her finger jabbing toward my face. This is my apartment, too, and when I need to make a call, you need to leave. Our apartment, I said quietly, and I was already on a call. You could have waited 5 minutes. She stepped closer, her finger an inch from my nose. Don't you dare talk back to me. Don't you? Something in me snapped, not into violence, but into clarity. I slapped her hand away from my face. Stop pointing at me like that. Her eyes went wide for a fraction of a second. Then her hand flew up and cracked across my face, catching my right eye with her palm. The room went quiet except for our breathing. I felt my hand move before my brain caught up, not hard, not a hurt, but to match what she'd done, and I slapped her cheek. She screamed, not in pain. She'd barely felt it, but in performance. You hit me. Everyone. He hit me. This man is abusive. She ran to the door, threw it open, screamed into the hallway. He's been abusing me. He doesn't help with anything. He doesn't give me money, doesn't take care of me, and now he's hitting me. I heard doors opening, footsteps in the hall, voices murmuring. I stood there in our bedroom, filled with things I'd paid for, in an apartment I'd covered when she was short on rent, stock of food I bought, and I felt something inside me just break. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, like a rope fraying to its last thread, and finally letting go. Angie came back inside, tears streaming down her face. Real tears. I'll give her that. She was good at crying. How could you? She sobbed. After everything I've done for you? I started to laugh. I couldn't help it. It came out harsh and broken, and it scared me a little. Everything you've done for me? I repeated. Angie, I spent my last $50 making you soup from scratch while you complained that my bowl was bigger. I stayed up until 1 a.m. holding you while you cried. I took buses across town to get you medicine. I paid for this apartment 6 times in the last year when you were short. And you told your aunt you're single. I provide for myself, she screamed. You don't do anything. Living with you is... Every day with you is a regret. Every single day, Francis. I regret every day I've wasted on you. The words hit me like physical blows. Every day is a regret. I felt my face go calm, that dangerous kind of calm that comes when you've been hurt so deeply that your body just shuts down the pain receptors. I nodded slowly. Every day is a regret. Yes. I nodded again. Okay, then let's end them today. The look on her face was everything. It shifted through 5 emotions in 2 seconds. Confusion, disbelief, anger, fear, and finally, understanding. What? You said every day with me is a regret. My voice came out steady, cold, factual. So let's end them. Today. Right now. No more regrets. Angie, I'm done. You're not serious. I've never been more serious in my life. I walked past the closet, pulled out my duffel bag, the same one I brought when I moved in 2 years ago, and started packing. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, my books. Francis, stop. You're being dramatic. I didn't stop. Francis, I said stop. I didn't stop. Where are you going to go? You don't have anywhere to go. I zipped up the bag, slung it over my shoulder, and finally looked at her. Really looked at her. And I realized I didn't recognize the person standing in front of me. Maybe I never really had. I'll figure out, I said, but I won't be here. I won't be your regret anymore. You're just going to leave? After 2 years. The audacity nearly made me laugh again. I'm leaving? Angie, you left months ago. You just forgot to tell me. I walked to the door. My hand was on the knob when she said it. Everyone warned me about you. They said you were just using me, that you'd never amount to anything. I turned back. Who's everyone? My friends. My aunt. They all see what you are. A leech. Someone who takes and takes and... I gave you everything. My voice cracked for the first time. I gave you every dollar I had. Every minute of my time. Every piece of myself I could split off and hand over. And you turned me into a villain anyway. Tears were running down her face. But they didn't move me anymore. So that's it? You're just going to throw us away. No, baby. The endearment came out bitter. You threw us away the second you pretended I didn't exist to your aunt. The second you lied to everyone about who took care of you. The second you told me every day with me was a regret. I'm just finally listening to you. I opened the door. Francis. Her voice was small now, desperate. Please. I didn't mean it. I paused in the doorway, my back to her. Yes, you did. And that's okay. But I'm not going to spend another day being your regret. I'm not going to sacrifice myself piece by piece for someone who sees it as nothing. Where will you go? Anywhere but here. I walked out of that apartment into the humid Houston night with nothing but a duffel bag and $400 in my checking account. I didn't have a plan, didn't have a destination, but for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt like I could breathe. I ended up at my buddy Marcus's place, a couch in his living room that sagged in the middle, but felt like a mansion compared to the prison I'd been living in. Marcus took one look at my face and said, "Spare room's yours as long as you need it, brother. No questions." That first night, I lay awake staring at an unfamiliar ceiling, and I thought about what I'd lost. 2 years. So much money. So much time. But then I thought about what I'd gained, myself. Here's what I learned, and what I need you to understand. Love isn't supposed to erase you. Real love doesn't demand you disappear piece by piece until there's nothing left but a ghost doing chores and signing checks. Real love doesn't turn your sacrifices into ammunition. Real love doesn't look you in the eye and call every moment you share regret. For weeks after I left, Angie blew up my phone. Texts that swung from "I miss you" to "you ruined everything" to "please come back" to "you were always worthless anyway." I blocked her number after the first week. Not out of anger. I stopped being angered by then, but out of preservation. Marcus told me later that she'd been posting on social media about her abusive ex, who'd abandoned her when she needed him most. The story got wilder with each post. I'd stolen from her, cheated on her, gaslit her for 2 years. I didn't respond, didn't defend myself. Because here's what I finally understood. People who've decided you're the villain won't change their mind no matter what evidence you present. And more importantly, I didn't need them to. 3 months after I left, I ran into one of our old neighbors, Mrs. Chun from 4C, the woman who'd heard Angie screaming that night. She stopped me on the street, touched my arm gently. "Francis, honey, I'm glad you got out." I blinked. "Ma'am." "Everyone in the building knew," she said quietly. "We heard everything through those thin walls. How she talked to you. How you never raised your voice. How you'd leave at 6 a.m. and come home at 8 p.m. and still make her dinner." She shook her head. "That girl was poison, baby, and you were too kind to see it." I felt something crack open in my chest. Not pain this time, but validation. Someone had seen. Someone had known. "Thank you," I whispered. She patted my arm. "You're going to be okay. Men like you, men who love like you did, you're rare. Don't let her make you stop loving like that. Just be more careful who you give it to." So here's my question to you, the one I need you to answer honestly. Was it my fault? Did I deserve what happened? Should I have done more, given more, been more? Or was I in love with someone who saw my sacrifices as expectations, my love as weakness, and my presence as something to be ashamed of? I know what I believe now. But it took me months to get here, months of therapy and long talks with Marcus and nights of questioning every choice I'd made. The truth is this: I loved someone who didn't know how to love me back. And that's not a moral failing on either of our parts. It's just a tragedy. But the moment she said every day with me was a regret, and I said, "Then let's end them today," that was the moment I chose myself. For the first time in 2 years, I chose myself. And her face, God, her face, when she realized I actually meant it, that I was actually leaving, that her words had finally pushed me past the point of no return, that look was everything. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because it was the first time she understood that I was serious. That love has limits, that even infinite patience runs out eventually. 6 months later, I'm in my own place now. Small studio, nothing fancy, but it's mine. Paid for with money I earned and saved without someone telling me I wasn't doing enough. I got that freelance gig with David. Turns out he respected me more for trying to prioritize work over drama. It led to 3 more clients, and now I'm building something real. I'm dating again, slowly, carefully, with boundaries I never knew I was allowed to have. And Angie? Last I heard, she moved back to the UK. I hope she's happy. I genuinely do, not because I've forgiven everything. Some things don't require forgiveness, just acceptance, but because I don't carry her anymore. Not her expectations, not her disappointments, not her regrets. Because here's the final truth, the one that set me free. Her regrets were never about me. They were about herself. And I can't fix that for her. I never could. But I can make sure that my days are never regret again. And they're not. They're finally, beautifully mine. So tell me, have you ever loved someone who turned your sacrifices into weapons? Have you ever given everything just to be told you gave nothing? And if you have, did you stay or did you finally choose yourself? Drop your answer in the comments, because this story isn't just mine, it's ours. It's every person who's loved too much and been valued too little. Every person who's been called dramatic for having feelings or weak for having boundaries. This is for everyone who's ever heard, every day with you is a regret, and had the strength to say, then let's end them today. You deserve better. You always did. And the look on their face when you finally believe it, that's everything.